Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rotary Capital Meeting, September 13th meeting. It'll be on Friday, so that tells us today is Friday the 13th. We had it. I had it not. Just to show you it's Friday the 13th, the slides that I made that are up there all the time magically disappear. So we don't have the slides today. I apologize for that. I'd like to thank Ed and Fran for greeting this afternoon. Eric Marcus for what Eric Marcus does. Beth Hanwork is all set up and program assistance. We really appreciate that. Big Bale, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Zwick for the programs, and Jim Gundel for the website. Danny, if you'd like to join us up here for the invitation, please.
Good afternoon. Well, it turns out that I had my 13th birthday on Friday the 13th. It was a delightful day. Would you join me in prayer? Oh, Holy Creator, Rotarians worldwide, acknowledge your power and your expectations that will be of service to mankind. So let us renew our obligations to fulfill that expectation, just in return as fall renews the following growth in the world and around us with a new commitment to help others in our community, in our nation, and the world. With the powers, influence, and wealth we as leaders in this place certainly have, let us remember that these blessings are from you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dennis. You ready?
Fine. Yes, we have our Beavercreek Township Fire Chief with us.
Kevin?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. I've got in my table, I've got Beth Sizemore. Beth works in our curriculum department, also oversees PR. Josh Baker. Josh works in our curriculum office. Both of them are going to assist on the presentation today because we're going to talk about grants. And I figured it'd be better to bring the gurus in and let them talk about what we're doing grant wise. Then we have Joanne Regano, who's our board president. And Joy Kitzmiller, and then we also have Chris Hunt coming, and she'll be coming through the door here shortly. So it's quite a group.
Also, very good. Oh,
You have a couple guests?
right. Yeah, it's the names of them.
Okay. I have two guests, Zach Drake, Xenia Fire, and then I have the Donna Rollins today.
How's it going? Okay. Actually, could you two introduce yourselves, please? But my guest over. Not you, Donna.
Sorry.
We're on the golf course, I'm here.
I'm Will Romine, I'm a professor of biology at Wright State and senior cognitive research scientist at Kairos Research.
I'm Tanvi Banerjee. I'm also a professor in computer science at Wright State and his spouse, and we're excited to be here.
Yeah, I couldn't remember everything you do, so it just seems possible. Now we come to the really good part. There he is, Sergeant at Arms. Chris, there we go. Wow, that's all we
do. Perks of having a lot of guests here, there's more laughing than is normal. So I appreciate everyone bringing guests. All right, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, our new guest, our long-term guest, and our incredible speaker / Rotarian. Today is September 13th, also known as the 250th day of the year, which means we are 70% through the year. As far as upcoming birthdays, fun fact, 9.6% of our Rotarians are born either today or this upcoming week. Today we have Jim Jambor, 15th, Dave Happy, 17th, Ed O'Shaughnessy, also on the 17th, JD Huddleston, 18th, Dick Gold, and 19th, Eric Marcus. We don't have any partner birthdays or member anniversaries, but we do have a couple wedding anniversaries. Mike and Anita Zwick will be celebrating 52 years on the 16th. And Beth and Josh Hanworker will be celebrating 15 years on the 19th. Some good things that have happened today in this day in history, going all the way back to 1814. A lawyer by the name of Francis Scott Key wrote a poem while watching the bombardment of Fort Henry and negotiating the release of U.S. prisoners during the War of 1812 while aboard a British ship, which is some serious multitasking. Does anybody know what the name of that poem was? Star Spangled Banner. Star Spangled Banner. Moving on to 1875, Milton S. Hershey, the founder of Hershey Chocolate Company and the company town of Hershey, Pennsylvania, was born. Also in 1916, a fighter pilot, medical pioneer, and author, Ronald Dahl, was born. If you went through elementary school, which I think all of us did, we were all forced to read either The Witches, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James Judge Peach, the BFG, or Fantastic Mr. Fox. 1985, Nintendo released a game by the name of Super Mario Bros. It was only $25 to $30 back then. If you adjust the price for inflation, the price of that game would be about $65 to $80 today, which is on par for what games go for this time of year. Some fun facts about that game: it was the best-selling game for over 20 years. It was also the most expensive video game that was ever sold. A sealed copy of Super Mario Bros. Back in 2021 sold for $2 million. Wow. So if you have any old video games or anything old sitting around that's still sealed, there's hope you could become a millionaire. Also, if you're wanting to set a world record on the game, the fastest speed run on the game was set in 2023, 4 minutes, 54 seconds. So if you know all the cheats and secrets, you can probably get that game done real quick. Wow. Then fast forwarding to 2007, we have the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly. Now, since we have Beavercreek greatness in the house, I figured we just go over some dominance from Beavercreek schools this past week. We had the varsity girls soccer team destroying Wayne 9-0. The ladies golf team won the Oakwood 9-hole Invitational Dayton Country Club. The boys golf team played at the Springfield Invitational and they finished fifth. They also finished as team runner-up in the Christoph Memorial. Varsity girls volleyball defeated Springboro. Beavercreek men's varsity soccer beat Wayne 6-0. The junior varsity team also beat Chaminade Julian 2-0. Moving on to cross country. The middle school boys and girls took first place in the Brookville Invite, making both teams 4-0 for the season. With the JV football team beating Carroll 24-0, and then the varsity team doing another shutout, winning 48-0 against Thurgood last Friday. If you're looking for some things to celebrate today and this coming week, obviously today is Friday the 13th, which makes it National Supernatural Day, National Defy Superstitions Day. Because of the previous birthdays, we have National Ronald Dahl Day and International Chocolate Day. This is a favorite one by some people. It's National Blame Somebody Else Day. And so when your team does not get cool today, think about who you want to blame, because it's perfectly fine to do that today. If you're feeling a little adventurous, it's National Kids Take Over the Kitchen Day. It's also National Hug Your Boss Day. And I'm saving the best one for last because I spent a long time this morning getting my hair done for this. This is National Bald is Beautiful Day. Moving on to Saturday, we got National Cream-Filled Donut Day. We also have National Sober Day, which is weird to have that on a college football Saturday. But also for those who are unaware, there are a handful of delicious zero alcohol beers out there. One of my favorites is Athletic Brewing Company. Not only do they have tons of different flavors, but they also give back money to local trails and parks. Last year, they gave back $1.65 million to 180 different parks across the U.S. Anybody here has a Studebaker? Tomorrow is International Driver Studebaker Day. It's also National Coding Week starts tomorrow. So if you have any young ones who are interested in coding, typically the Greene County Libraries have free classes for kids to learn coding and to come in and do coding on their own. Sunday also kicks off National Indoor Plant Week, which is going to be a huge hit in my household for not me, but for somebody else. Also tomorrow or Sunday is Wife Appreciation Day, which I think we will all say that's every day in some households. And it's also National Google.com Day. Flying through next week, Monday, We have National Construction Appreciation Week kicks off, along with Family and Community Day. We also have National Step Family Day and National Working Parents Day. Tuesday is National Time Up Day, which is not as bad as it sounds. It's all about life being too short and not holding on to grudges and negative things. Wednesday is going to be a popular day. It's not only National Uniform Day, but U.S. Air Force Day. It's also National Read an Ebook Day. So for those who love ebooks and or audiobooks and have a cell phone or a tablet and hate paying for subscriptions, there's these two apps that you can get for free called Hoopla or Libby. And as long as you have a Green County Library card, which is also free, you can get access to all kinds of ebooks and audiobooks and not pay any. And then Thursday, luckily, it's on a Thursday and not a Friday because this could get real out of hand. Is Talk Like a Pirate Day. If you're looking for some things to do, Beavercreek takes on lunch tonight at 7 right here in Beavercreek. Tomorrow at the Green, we have Beer and Hot Diggity Dog Fest at the Green from 5 to 9. Monday morning, if you're available from 8:30 to 9:30 at Panera Bread, will be community conversations with City Council. And then going on to Thursday, starts the fishing derby over at Dominic Lafino Park. All the information and details can be found on beavercreekohio.gov. And then the Beavercreek Chamber will have their free business links at West Banco from 4:30 to 6. So to move on to our favorite part of fines. Obviously, if you're not wearing your badge or if you were late, that'll be $1. If you have never played Mario Bros, that's $1. And if you believe in any superstitions, like not stepping on foul lines when you're jogging the baseball field, throwing salt over your shoulder, knocking on wood, avoiding opening umbrellas and doors, that'll be $1 for it. Done. Yeah, right.
Oh, we have to dig deep today.
That's on your ears.
Okay, happy bucks. We have to be happier than we rely on. So it has to be somebody that's happy. Let's start. Jim.
I have a happy five for everybody that participated in the popcorn festival. First of all, especially thanks for Beth Capelli and Carrie Souder and Joe Jenkins for setting up and tearing down. That was a lot of work. But our main thing is community, and we passed out brochures on our club as well as free treats for dogs and water. But besides that, even though it's not to make a profit, we've sold enough water that we covered the fee for the booth, and we cleared $101.
Well, maybe that on. And actually, my two guests are here as a result of the popcorn festival. I talked with them over there, so I'm glad you guys did come. Happy bucks for him.
Oh, I got one.
Okay.
My little school beat a team from South Bend, Indiana that was ranked number 5 last week.
So I'm gonna give a happy $3. The $3 is I only have 3 more years to be electrician for the golf cart festival. The other thing, big shout out to Abby, Jay, and all the people that helped me with the electric. I mean, it's an impossible task that we make happen. It was amazing. The weather was like on point, so happy we made a festival with no incident.
Yeah, I try to tell people that I ordered that and made it happen, but.
That's good. Free election.
Yes.
Buck is that after playing a really lousy game and only winning 56-0, the Ohio State Buckeyes were able to move from second to third.
That's all.
I'm gonna cover this today, but our local report card came out today. And so we have incredible marks. You'll get to see them later today, but it's for all our teachers and all the work that they do.
Great. Okay.
So I got to visit last Sunday with Jacob and Jack. Jacob was a little homesick, so me and Melanie decided to go out there and have dinner with him. It's a good dinner, but surprisingly, neither one of the boys offered to pay for dinner. Yeah, it's a good visit.
Very good.
I'll add to that.
tonight, the high school plays football at home and, my daughter's in the color guard, and so she's excited, and we've got family coming in to watch her from Columbus. And so they called Jack and Jacob and they said, hey, we're going back to Beavercreek for a football game in color guard. Can we bring you guys back to watch the football game? And they both said, no, thanks.
Anyone else? Yeah. All right, on to. Yeah, okay. Take your line. The number is 117-5461.
That's right.
We're looking for the community arts, split the lot, half the proceeds to our Christmas baskets project.
You know what's good. Sure.
Yeah. I guess the line grows. Please. Probably in December when Joe Jenkins is going to win it again. If that happens, we will be talking.
I was just luck of the draw. Yes.
All right, any announcements for the good of the club?
Gotta go golf. We're going to golf.
Okay. All right, I do have one, this is, Stephanie, called me and told me that Debbie Gross fell last week, ended up in the hospital. She's still kind of back and forth, so they're not asking for anybody to visit her cards or anything yet, but I told them, let me know that we would follow up with something, so I guess she fell pretty hard, so hopefully just pray that she's going to be okay. Okay, Mr. Hadley. Who's our speaker?
All right, ladies, we have an absolute legend in the world of education joining us today, but this time as a speaker, not a Rotarian. He is the man running the largest school district in all of Greene County, where more than 7,500 students and 1,000 employees are crushing it thanks to his leadership. Before taking the reins in Beavercreek, he spent nearly 2 decades in the Fairfield City Schools District, working his way up to head honcho while building a legacy of excellence. He is a Miami University alum who has been at the forefront of bringing technology and innovation into the classroom and is always looking ahead to what students need to succeed in the future. If you don't believe me, then head down to Florida next January, where he'll be speaking at the Future of Education and Technology Conference. He is the kind of leader that not only advocates for the community involvement in education, he's also out there at the sports fields, the school clubs, the community meetings, showing that he not only talks the talk, but walks the walk as well. So let's give a big round of applause for the best darn superintendent in the land.
I'm traveling with you. Longest later this month, sir. I appreciate that. First of all, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity. This is a great group. Obviously, I've been a member here for about 8 years, and just think the world of Rotary. Fridays are always a hard day for us in the school world because we tend to do a lot of meetings and lunches on Fridays. And I always tell people when I started this job back in 2016, I think I was about 185 pounds. So things have changed over time. But obviously, I just want to thank everybody for coming today. The school district, one of the things that I love about Beavercreek, I was down in the Fairfield School District, love Fairfield. Fairfield gave me so many opportunities. Started down there, I worked 19 years in Fairfield, but there was one thing that was so different. Well, there's a lot of things that are different between Fairfield and Beavercreek. But the one thing that I absolutely love about the Beavercreek community, and you've heard me say this before, is this entire community rallies around its schools. And Fairfield, they rally around their schools too, but there's so much competition. And your neighbor, you can have kids going in so many different places. And here, I just love this community for how much we support our schools, how much we support our kids. And I tell everybody, I'm like, how many places do you go where you see orange and black street signs? And to me, that was one of the things when I was interviewing for the job. I thought that was so cool. And then I became a bus driver for the district because I drive when they need drivers, when they stoop that low. And those orange and black signs are so hard to read in the dark. But I'm like, I think this is the road, and I slow down, and I still can't read the sign. But anyway, just want to say thanks. I do have two individuals, as I shared earlier, that are going to join me in this presentation towards the end. Because one of the things I wanted to share with the group is what are we doing that's innovative in the district? What's new that we brought on? And how are we funding that? Because education looks totally different than it used to. What we all went to school is not what you will see today. And I would encourage all of you, if any of you at any time want to say, hey, let's go, I want to see what's going on at the high school. You can reach out to me, you can grab me at Rotary, we will set it up and have you just go through. I would love to have people come through and see what our kids are doing. It's an outstanding opportunity. And it's great to see the things that our kids get to do. I'm amazed, and I get to hear about these things, and then when you go to see them, it's just shocking to see what kids are doing. So I would encourage all of you, if at any time you want to grab some friends and come out, we would love to walk you through our buildings. So what are we going to cover today? I figured I wanted to kind of give you some topics of what we're going to go through today. Obviously, the first one's our bread and butter. We're here to educate kids. So the number one task that we have, but there's a lot of things that we also have to do. We have to prepare kids for life. We have to prepare kids for outside the classroom. But today we're going to share local report card data. As I shared earlier, that came in this morning. We kind of get a snapshot of what it looks like, and I'll go through that with you quickly because we don't want to get into too much of the data. But I want to show you what's happening in our classrooms. How are our teachers performing as teachers? How are our support staff performing? And how does that resonate over to our kids? And how are our kids doing across the state? Then we're going to talk about this one district, one mission, one creek. Brian, I want to thank Brian. He's got his shirt on today. Thank you, Brian. That is a kind of a rallying cry. We'll go through that, kind of what does that mean? And then we do have signs in the back of the room. You are welcome to grab a sign or multiple signs to hand out. They have nothing to do with our bond issue. They deal totally with kind of our new mission, our new drive for this school year and really going into next school. Then we're going to talk about the master facility plan, the bond issue. We're going to talk about expansion of preschool and the relocation of our central office because that's new. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and bring Beth and Josh up. I'm going to have them talk about some of the pieces that are happening in the classroom, some of the neat things that we're doing and how we're funding those. So let's start off with our academics. So this was taken this morning from the Ohio Department of Education, and they went away from the A/B rankings of school districts, A through F, and they said, we're going to change it. That's too much stress. We're going to do it on a star basis. So that's not stressful. So we're going to do, if you're a restaurant or if you're a hotel, you want to be a 5-star. That's what you want to be. So in school districts, it's the exact same thing. You want to be a 5-star. So when you look at our overall rating for the school district, we are a 4.5 overall as a school district. But I want to really point out where do we fall for our buildings. Beavercreek High School is a 5-star. Fairbrook Elementary, 5-star. Ferguson Hall, 5-star. Ankeny Middle School, 5-star. Coy, 5. Maine Elementary, a 5. Parkwood Elementary, a 4. Shaw Elementary, a 5. Trabine, a 5. And Valley, a 4. And those are outstanding. I mean, those are truly outstanding for our community. And that is the hard work of our staff. That is our staff really being focused on what they're doing. We have adopted a new strategic plan. We've worked with our building principals. Really, what we want as a district is we're moving kids forward, but what we want to do is we want to make sure we're moving them forward in the same direction so that they're hitting the same target. If you're a second grade student, we want to make sure that every second grade student is being prepared for third grade. And I know that sounds cliche, but at some point they switch. They come from 6 elementary schools and they go to a middle school. Those 6 elementary schools have to make sure that when they all come together, that what they're learning is what they're going to be expected to grow forward when they get to the middle school. Same thing when they go to Ferguson Hall, same thing on to the high school. So this shows that our arrows are all really pointing in the right direction. So very proud of our staff. They're the ones doing this. So I just want to applaud them. They will be very excited to see this news when it rolls out, as it has rolled out today. So I want to talk about the one district, one mission, one creek. One of the pieces, when I came here as superintendent, we talked about the differences between other school districts. One of the things when I was at Fairfield, one of the things that was always, I received every year as a superintendent was our mascot. So Fairfield's mascot is the Indians. And there was always pressure, and they still have pressure. They get pressured literally every year about that. So when I came here, I'm like, oh, we are not going to tick off any beavers. This is going to be great. And I can have the beavers upset that we're the beavers. And but when we got here, the one thing that was interesting is that you have elementary schools and you have middle schools that have different mascots. So you have the Valley Vikings, Fairbrook Foxes, Ankeny Chargers. And when you see those students or the staff, they actually even have different colors. And but that was not something that this superintendent was ever going to change, because I'm like, that is embedded. I've had conversation with Joanne Regano, our board president, and Joanne has said the same thing. She's like, not under my watch are we changing that. So not something that we were ever interested in, but we went through a strategic planning process 3 years ago. During that process, one of the pieces that came out very loudly, which surprised all of us from our high school students, was the fact that they felt there was no unity in the district because of the mascot. And when you hear kids say that, it means something different than when you as an adult hear it. And I will tell you what's interesting is every opening day, we bring about 1,000 staff members together. We gather into our gymnasium. And when you look out to the crowd, you have one group that's all in blue, another group that's in red. Those are their school colors. You have another group in orange, a group in black, a group in green, a group in yellow. You would see these big sections and they would have all these shirts that really didn't match anything. Nick, you remember those days? And so one of the biggest pieces of that was we looked at it and said, we recognize that unity is missing. That is something that's not there. So taking the lead from our kids, we said, all right, we're going to tackle this. And we're going to tackle it with doing one district, one mission, one creek. And what that rallying cry means is we are going to transform our schools that everybody's a beaver. When you walk in as a preschooler, you're a beaver. And when you graduate, you're a beaver. And however, with all that being said, there are also people who graduated and said, hey, I went to Valley, I'm a Viking. And they feel very strongly about being a Valley Viking. So we have to make sure we honor that and recognize it and keep the historical side of it. We don't forget it, but we're moving forward to it. So this is really what has happened starting this year. Beth and I serve on this committee with about 5 other individuals. And we're amazed at how fast this has moved. It has moved way faster than we thought. Our principals have shared stories of doing their opening announcements, and they'll end the announcement by saying, all right, remember, be a great Parkwood Panther or a Valley Viking or a Fairbrook Fox. And kids have come down to correct them to say, we are beavers. And so you are seeing this change. This is really the last year, kind of where we are seeing those in our elementaries and our middle school. Where next year we will all be orange and black from preschool all the way up, and we will all be beavers. So kind of an exciting thing moving forward. You may have seen these small signs throughout the district. They're very small. They're basically like mailbox signs. So you put them by your mailbox. You don't put them in the middle of your yard, but by your mailbox. And if you would like one or two, again, like I said earlier, help yourself. But really, that's what it is. Just shows unity within our community. All right, master facility plan, really looking, I wanted to talk a little bit about our master facility plan to talk about where we find ourselves today. So when I came into the district, it was probably back in 2018. Well, I came in 16, but in 18, we had a big community forum where we were having conversation about uh, safety and security within the district. And in that presentation, we had an individual stand up and say, and it wasn't even on topic, but the individual said, "What are you doing to address the growth that is happening within the district?" And I said, we talked a little bit about that, and I said, well, let's talk afterwards. Well, a whole group of individuals came over afterwards to have that conversation. And I still remember this day, the gentleman saying, he goes, "This freight train's been coming down the track and it's been staring you in the eyes. What are you going to do to address the growth that we're experiencing here in the township and in the city?" And so we had talked about we need to do a master facility plan. We do not currently have one. So in 19, we started, or actually in 18, we started this master facility plan. We gathered community members from around. We had 60 community members. So it was the very beginning of 19. And they worked to kind of come up with a plan. What makes sense to our district? We talked about 2 high schools. What's the feel for 2 high schools? That got shot down very quickly because obviously now you're not you lost the 1 district, 1 mission, 1 creek if you do that. We had multiple community forums. We brought staff together to talk about what they thought would be the best thing with the educational visioning side of it. And then COVID hit. So this plan really stalled out at that point. And we kind of put it on the shelf because we had bigger things that we had to deal with at that point, dealing with COVID and how we were going to address that. We came out of COVID and we knew we had to continue to do this because it wasn't getting smaller. We actually had a reduction in students during COVID, as you can imagine. People started homeschooling their kids at that point. What I can assure you is those families, many of them have returned, and obviously we continue to see additional growth each year within the district. So our board has moved forward with that and reinitiated it because we said what made sense back in 2019, 2020, does that still make sense for us today? And we actually did change part of the plan, some of those pieces, not major pieces, just some of them. So we've updated that plan and moved forward. So in a nutshell, I'll talk about the plan here in a minute, but I just want to kind of give you a perspective of what we look at in terms of growth within the district. So we deal with a company called Crop GIS, and Cropper looks across. And I will tell you what's amazing about this company is when we look at what they've projected years past and where we sit today, they are almost spot on. It's almost eerie. They look at live births. They look at how many homes have been approved through the township, through the county, through the city. What kind of house are you building that promotes? Are you going to, if it's a $700,000 house, they're probably not going to have a play gym in the backyard. But then we have other neighborhoods where the play gym gets built before the house gets built. So when you look at this, we are really projected at 8,827 students here in 33-34 school year. Part of our project we've looked at, we need to have a buffer because even though we see those numbers, one of the pieces that we recognize is we better make sure we plan for additional growth beyond that. So we've added an additional 5% onto that to make what we believe is our planning target of a little bit over 9,200 students within the district. Today, we sit at about 8,200 students within the district. So this is the plan that came out of that whole process. And I want to go through and really explain what we see here. So we'll start all the way down the far end. We have a preschool center today that is attached to our central office. So if you've ever been to our central office on Kemp, you will see that there is we have a preschool that's located right around the back side of that. And that preschool is total capacity. And we'll get into a little bit more of the preschool. And we actually have classrooms that are in one of our elementary schools as well. So we'll cover that in a few minutes. Then we have kindergarten through 5th grade. And those are our elementary schools. And then obviously you have sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, which is our middle school, and you have 9 through 12. This is the new plan. This is not what our district looks like today. Today, we have a ninth grade building, which is Ferguson Hall, and we have a 10, 11, 12 building. And so that today is a piece that is not a very popular design, I think, within the district. I think we hear kids who are so excited about becoming high school students, yet they're really not at the high school. I mean, they're not at the big houses, if you want to call it that. They're at the Ferguson Hall at the ninth grade building. We have 2 middle schools today. The new plan calls for 1 middle school. And that 1 middle school happens to be the current high school that we sit at today. And then when you start looking at elementary schools, we have 6 elementary schools. One of those elementary schools, Maine, our oldest, will come offline. And it's just simply, it's our oldest building with smallest classrooms. That will become our central office. We will make, obviously, the historic side of that'll be a building that stands the test of time. And if you walk in that building today, you'd be amazed how beautiful that building is and how well maintained it is. So we will maintain that building. That will become our central office. So that will come offline for students. Ankeny Middle School will become an elementary school. And then you have Trabine and Croy elementary and a middle school that are joined. That will become one large elementary school across the district to serve the township. Ferguson Hall. So one of the questions that people will ask is, well, what happened to Ferguson Hall in here? Ferguson Hall does come offline, but it actually gets used for alternative purposes. We have really 3 options that we can put into that building. We would be looking at it as an alternative school for the district, for our students. We've also had conversation with Greene County ESC, where they would like to rent space from the district for school options because they have different alternative programming for the entire county. Right now, those programs are in Bellbrook and located in Yellow Springs. So they would have great interest in having those programs together in one site. And then the Greene County Career Center, if you've seen their incredible, beautiful building that they have there, you see it off 35, they are filled. They are at capacity, they are filled. They have waiting lists. And so I've had conversation with Dave Deskins, their superintendent, if this plan would ever move forward, he would have interest in identifying space within Ferguson Hall to help serve Beavercreek students in the Career Center for some of those labs that they could do. And also maybe even expand to other students from within the Greene County area to come in so they can serve. Obviously, if they move our kids to that space, that frees up seats in their building that they can serve other students too. So when you look at this whole piece here provides enough capacity, truly what we say is probably for 30 to 35 years within our community. And hopefully that growth, we never see anything beyond that, what would ever be needed for that. So that is our master facility plan, really in a nutshell. So I'm gonna move on to timeline. So I've had multiple people who have young children within the district. They'll say, okay, if my child is a second grader, when would this happen? Because one of the reasons, and I probably need to say this, one of the things, when you look at this plan, back to here, you see this is the only thing that's really orange, is a new high school. So people have said, well, if something's wrong with your high school, why are you going to use the high school for a middle school? There's nothing wrong with our high school. Our high school is great. And our high school has enough room today for our high school students. This is the area that we feel the pressure right now. And that pressure, if you drive by Maine Elementary, you'll see a portable that's sitting out front. Trabine Elementary has a very large portable that's sitting out front. And Fairbrook has a portable that's located at the back. So 3 of our 6 elementary schools have portables today. And we don't purchase those, we lease those, and they're very expensive. They have security features that we've added onto them. Obviously, they have electric, they have heat, they have air, all that stuff that they need. Trabine actually has restrooms in theirs, just simply because of the distance that has to be traveled. So we are feeling the pressure here. So it is not a high school problem that this is to address. It is a district problem on capacity. And so when the group got together and they looked at a plan, we looked at, does it make sense to build another elementary school? Does it make sense to build another middle school to address this issue? And one of the things that came out loud and clear from our community was, hey, if we're going to do this, it kind of hurt to say yes, and then my kids never get that experience to go to Coy or Trayvine. We heard that from multiple people. Even though it was supported, and it alleviated the issue that the new building was Coy and Trayvine. So they've looked at how can we create the front porch of our community, which is kind of what I always talk about your high school is kind of the front porch, that people come into your community simply to go to football games, soccer games, lacrosse games. They'll go in for plays, for musicals, so on and so forth. They'll come and experience your high school. So a new high school, every student gets to go through in the community. And this is really where we want to see the state of the art stuff happening for our kids. So that was really what came out of that. So looking at it, I just want to clarify, it's not a high school problem. It's a district problem. It's a capacity issue. So this is the tentative timeline, and this is under the assumption that it would be approved in 2024. Again, obviously you all know you can't make that assumption, but we have to start somewhere. So if this would be approved in November, we would be looking to open up the school and make all these changes for the 29-30 school year. So August of 29 would be when we would be opening those schools. All right. So now let's talk about the money side of it. And this is a very busy slide, and that is why Joy Kitzmiller gets to deal with busy slides. But I want to throw it up here to really kind of talk about it. So really, this is kind of in a nutshell what we see here in terms of the new high school is about a $225 million project. It is a 450,000 square foot facility, and we'll get to that on the next slide. When you look at what we're going to be putting on site there, you'll see all that is included in that 225. I will tell you is you can fully understand and imagine that if we would have done this project pre-COVID, it would have been a whole lot cheaper than where we see ourselves today. We would be adding 3 new elementary gyms, and why are we adding 3 new elementary gyms? We have 3 elementary schools today that have like a cafetorium. So they use their gym as their cafeteria, as their auditorium, that kind of piece. So what that creates problems for instructional side of it, because our gym teacher needs to stop at a certain time so they can put tables down. And then all those kids come in, they eat, they go out, they clean up, and then we do gym again. We do phys ed. So it just gives us additional space. This 20 million is really the renovation side of taking the current high school to a middle school, and then our 2 middle schools down to elementary schools, and then main elementary in the central office. The 5 million is really not part of the project. We have capital improvements that we see throughout the district that we need roofing, asphalt, those type of pieces. And to do it this way is way more cost effective than doing it differently. So what does that mean when you look at these assumptions over here? It is a 4.9 mil bond issue. Again, it's generating 265 million. It's a 37-year bond issue. For $100,000 of valuation on your home, it's $171.50, so $172. I do want to share with the group that we are doing something a little different over here. There was about 20 years ago, you may remember, there was a program, it was tobacco money that the state received, and they gave that to school districts to renovate and build new schools. That is gone, but it is now called the OFCC, the Ohio Facility Construction Commission through the state. And so how that works is you have 611 school districts in the state. They start with the poorest and they rank you to the wealthiest. So Beavercreek, we're like in the 560 range on that number in terms of wealth. So Fairborn just built that brand new high school. If you've seen Fairborn High School, it's beautiful. They are an OFCC project. Their number has been pulled and they have state support. When a school district like a Beavercreek says, hey, we're going to build something and we want to build this, and we can't wait for our number to get drawn, which might be 15 years from now or 10 years from now. However, the state allows us to be something that's called an ELP project, an expedited local partnership project. And what the district is, we start designing our school today. We are already working and have been approved by the state to work with the state to design our project and build the project. When it is done, the state comes through and they check all the standards and they say, all right, of our design manual, we accepted this much square footage of your project was designed the way we want it designed. So you now have credit. So here's the example. Let's say our $225 million project, 150 million of that project is done by their design manual, meaning the classroom size is at least 810 square feet. We use certain kind of air handlers, we use certain kind of window panes, so on and so forth for efficiency. At some point, they'll come through and say, all right, 150 million of 225 is approved. There will be someday, probably won't be these board members and it won't be this superintendent, then probably 10, 15 years, the state will send us a check for $21 million, if that is the actual number. So we don't know what that number is, but we will get that same state aid because we built our building by their standards. So so we are, when people say, why aren't you doing what Fairborn is doing? We are doing what Fairborn's doing. We're just doing it ahead of time and we'll get credit later for it, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about the project and kind of where this is located. This is our piece of land right here on the far left. That's 89 acres. Sits on the corner of Indian Ripple Road and South Alpha Bellbrook. You can see that nice little pond right here. That pond is actually going to stay. And this is what we see as the projected site to look like. I will tell you that this intersection right here is not a great intersection. Actually, the roads are all the roads would need to be updated. This project will update all those roads along with the county, and the county has already informed us that this would become a roundabout. Actually, it will straighten out to hit Indian Ripple and then kind of taper back onto our property. So this is not at that angle. You ought to see, if you're ever a bus driver, you need to turn right here, you need to turn left there. If you don't hit it right, you're backing up. So it's an ugly corner there. But if you look at this site, you can see one of the things that's significant about it is the parking. We can't park on streets for events. So we will have about 1,700 parking spots on this site. You will have baseball, softball, football. We've got a soccer stadium. We've got obviously our tennis courts, practice fields. We'll have a band practice area. And then obviously where the high school will be set. That is not what the design of the high school is. We don't have a design because we don't want to spend the money on design until we actually pass. I will tell you something funny. You can't read that, but that says detention. And so during the popcorn festival, we had multiple groups of kids go, what is this? What are you doing there? So yeah, we're like, oh, don't get in trouble. That's great. So that is really the space that we would be looking at in a nutshell. Want to talk about expansion of preschool. This plan originally talked about preschool, and when we talked about the district office moving over to Main Elementary, it has always been the plan to give Kemp Road, our 3040 Kemp Road central office over to the kids. Here's the problem. That desire and that need has beat us early. It's gotten here before we can wait. So what has happened is about 4 years ago, so I just want to point out so you can see it on this building. This is the warehouse. This is central office. Our parking is over here. here's Kemp Road. This is a warehouse. These three sections that you see here were central office. This is the main part of central. That's our boardroom when we have board meetings. So this really housed everybody. About 4 years ago, we turned this into preschool because everything you see here is preschool. And so we turned this into preschool because it's connected. So now we have this space, the central office. We have today, our preschool center is at capacity. We have 4 classrooms that are located at Parkwood Elementary School. That makes Parkwood at capacity. So no additional space. We added the 4th classroom this year. And so we know we need space for our youngest children that we have. And our preschool is designed as a 50-50 model. So we have kids that are your typical, if you want to use the word typical, but then we have special needs students that are the other 50%. And they're in wheelchairs, they have walkers, they may be speech related. So what we've decided to do, and the board has moved forward with this, is we will be vacating this space this November. We are leaving this space and this is about 16,000 square feet that we have here. We're moving into a 12,000 square foot space of rental space over off of Grange Hall. It's Apple Valley areas where we're moving. And truthfully, one of the reasons we did that is because the renovation cost is cheaper than putting in portables. And you never want to put preschool kids in portables. We just don't want to do that. When we move out in November, Synergy, which is a Beavercreek company, will be coming in and they will be renovating this. And I want to show you kind of what the new space will look like. So this will now become, that whole building, that whole site will be Beavercreek Preschool Center. So currently today, that's our board office. That becomes a multi-purpose room. If you've ever been in my office, that's my office, right? And that's not that big. But it's classroom 3. So right now we are going to get 7 classrooms out of this space for next school year, which is very exciting. What's also exciting is the fact that we're going to fill 4 of those classrooms up immediately next year, which will allow for 3 classrooms really to remain empty for growth. But next school year, that building will solely function for kids. So we're very excited about that. It'll be a great space for them. Excited to work with Synergy. They've been outstanding throughout this project. The other side of it too that I think is pretty neat is we are now going to have a main hallway connector. This is Joy's office right here. And that will actually go right to the preschool center. So it will look like it was built originally as part of that building. Okay, now I'd like to turn it over to Beth and Josh and let them talk about some of the exciting things that we've got going on and kind of how we've done it.
Thanks, Paul.
This one.
Josh, you want to be
Yeah, you're pushing down.
Thanks so much for having us. I'm Beth Sizemore. I'm in the curriculum department. I'm one of our grant writers, along with Dr. Fiore, and then Josh has come along with that as well. So one of the things that we're really proud of is that we continue to seek opportunities to provide our students with innovative programming, but we try not to do that on the burden of the taxpayers. So we look for competitive grants that we can apply for. Right off the bat, simply because we are 500 and some odd on the lists. In terms of wealth for the state, we are eliminated from contention from a lot of competitive grants. So there's a small number that we are eligible, that we are open to apply for. And we try to very aggressively seek those so that we can find alternate funding sources. Since FY14, we've applied for just shy of $28 million worth of grant funding. That totals about 40 big competitive grants. And we've received over 14 million in grants, which has been great. It's part of what's brought us to one-to-one district with technology for our kids. Lots of different opportunities. Most recently, in December of 22, we received a federal school-based mental health grant totaling just over $4.4 million. This brought us increase in social workers, school-based mental health therapists. The ability to have a social worker in every building is huge to provide for the mental health support needs for our students. In December of 23, we were awarded from the Department of Education and Workforce, the former Ohio Department of Education, a career technical education equipment grant valued at 1.3 million. This equipment grant enabled us to expand and begin some career technical education pathways in the high school. So these are programs that don't compete with our friends at the Career Center, but offer unique programming opportunities for our students. And Josh is going to talk a little bit more about that and what we selected. Pending, just of note, we have 3 big grants that we are supposed to receive award notifications on in September. So we're waiting with bated breath. We're pretty hopeful about a couple of them. Those are totaling 4.6 million. They include an additional CTE grant that we wrote for just under $1 million. It's an interactive media pathway. It would create a student press corps with our students. A school-based mental health grant, another one. We were actually contacted by the federal organization that sponsored this one and asked to apply for additional funding, which was a nice compliment. That one is worth 1.77 million. And it would include some partnerships with Wright State for student intern support, which is really exciting. And then we have a STEM grant through the Department of Defense Education Agency, DODEA, valued at 2 million. And that would bring us 9 mobile STEM labs and STEM experts in the district. We're going the mobile STEM route simply so because of space. We don't have room in our buildings to put STEM labs. So we're looking at some mobile STEM options. So those are some things that we have pending that we're pretty excited about. The school-based mental health grant, this is the one that we were awarded. Again, it came from the Department of Education from their Office of Elementary and Secondary Education. It includes respecializing, recruiting, and retaining school-based mental health service providers. So this has enabled us to allow current staff who are working on their own to become school-based mental health professionals, to be able to complete their internship expectations and requirements while still working in our district. And so what that lets us do is keep these great staff members in our district, serving our kids while they do those internship hours. It's pretty exciting. It has led to 15.5 school-based mental health service providers, 5.5 social workers, a social worker supervisor, and then 8 school-based mental health therapists. These were all staff positions that have been funded fully from this grant. And I want to note that social worker supervisor has been key for our social worker staff because it enables them to continue to advance themselves professionally without having to leave the school setting. And it's one of the reasons why we see school-based mental health therapists leave school settings. It's because in order to advance their degree, they need a different supervisor. So us having this within our district enables us to keep those professionals in-house, which is great. And then Josh is going to talk about our career tech education equipment grant.
Yeah, good. All right, good afternoon. So as Beth mentioned, the grant that we were awarded in December, we've been working really ever since we got that notification to start putting that in place for our students, and they are experiencing those now. So I'm going to show you, I believe it's in my next slide, what those spaces look like. But as Beth mentioned, we were awarded that in December. That allowed us to add 2 new pathways to our high school. A pathway allows students to really experience 4 courses along a career technical education pathway where they can earn industry recognized credentials. They can earn what's called C-tags. So if you've heard of CCP or College Credit Plus, that allows students to receive college credit from taking our courses at Beavercreek High School and apply them to a university or college of their choosing in the state of Ohio. And so as these pathways are developed, we'll have 4 courses in each. So we have added a new cybersecurity pathway for our students and an information technology pathway. So I'll show you pictures here in a moment of that. We were also able to start a new education and training pathway. So we have students in our buildings that they want to be teachers, and we would love to have our Beavercreek grads stay in Beavercreek and work in our building. So we have those in place currently for our students. We know we have data. Actually, I dug up a little bit of data. If I can share that with you, because when we apply for these grants, we want to be intentional about what are the needs of our community, what are the needs of our state, and what do our students tell us that they are interested in. So I can tell you, based upon data we looked at from 2022 from the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, in the field of information technology, there will be 194,000 jobs that will be available for students from now through 2031. So we're looking 10 years out in the field of information technology. So that's why we want to be intentional about choosing information technology and cybersecurity in our buildings. But we also know that based upon those jobs, we can find, if you look at the Ohio Means Jobs website, what specific skills are needed to fill those positions. So there are things like SQL programming language, computer science, Java programming, customer service, operations, leadership. All of those skills are already embedded into those pathways for students for IT and cybersecurity. So when they're leaving Beavercreek High School, they will have the skills and the credentials to go immediately into the workforce if they would like. We also know that in the field of teaching, education, and training, there will be 345,000 jobs available for students from now to 2031. So almost 500,000 jobs will be available for our kids and are needed for our state. So there again, child development, lesson planning, classroom management. We will have those courses available for our students to experience while they are a high school student. And I don't know about you, but if I could experience that when I was 16, 17 years old, I don't know, I maybe would have tried a different path for myself, or it would have probably confirmed like, yes, I want to be a teacher. So we are hoping to have students experience those things before they go to college. Third and lastly, in the field of business and administrative services, we were able to have that last year as well. We know in the state of Ohio, there will be 1.2 million jobs that are needed by 2031. So again, that intentionality for our students here in Beavercreek, we want to provide those experiences for them here. So now, the picture, we are next for you to see what those spaces look like. So you can see here, this is at our current high school space. So if they're on the right, this is our new cybersecurity lab. So there's actually a space there where students have the opportunity, when we were in the design phase, creating spaces that look and feel like an actual cybersecurity or IT lab. So students were able to be in an environment that is looks like you were working in an IT or cybersecurity space. So this side over here on the right, this is a lab space. You'll see there's actually a device here that's in pieces. Students are learning to like build computers, take apart computers, problem solve. This is out here in the hallway. This picture over here, the cybersecurity lab actually has kind of two zones. One is the group area where the computer was in pieces. They can kind of work in groups and problem solve. Then over on the right, you'll see that these computers, there's two monitors at each student workstation. So there's room there for about 28 students to be working, coding, problem solving. We are partnering with a company called Paradigm that works. They're doing great things. Over here on the right is IT. This is our education space. So on the left, there's an actual classroom where students are learning, and on the right, an actual lab for students to experience teaching and practicing. Perfect.
We thought if we put so much in here, won't give you any time for questions. It's okay to see that.
Thank you very much. That's really good information though to have, but it's a lot of things that I didn't know. As our custom, we give a book to our speaker. This time it's called School of Rock. So there you go. That will be in the county library. Next week's meeting, we have Dottie Mead, our district governor, going to be here. And keep an eye on the programs at beavercreekrotary.com. There will be a board meeting right after the meeting. We'll probably be in the grill room because they have to turn this room. Any other announcements for the good of the board?
And I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards.
Thank you. If you don't stand for the, let's see. Thank you. I didn't notice that wasn't there. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic which stands each other and its liberty. Let's follow. Thank you very much for the
Yeah. Change, but has to change. The chair, if you go, turn up one week, it's in part time. That's kind of right on. Thank you, sir. Here's the. On here, and I say, one of the.